and welcome to Take Time. I am your host Patrick Marlett, and today we're going to determine which of these two watches is the better space watch. Today we are comparing two of the most iconic watches to ever venture into space. Here on my left is the Omega Speedmaster Professional, and on my right is the Seiko 6139 Pogue. Both of these watches have been reviewed here on the channel, and of course I'll encourage you to view those summaries before watching this comparison video. Links for those are in the description. Now, I'm not going to be comparing these on their space significance, as only one of these was officially flight qualified by NASA for all manned space missions. That text is probably familiar to at least some of you. No, nor am I going to bring up how one of these was snuck aboard a Skylab 4 mission to be used instead of said flight qualified model. No. Instead, we're going to be comparing these from the perspective of a consumer who uses chronographs to time how long the pizza delivery takes. Sadly, I'm not getting to go to space anytime soon, but if I were, either of these models have proven themselves qualified. However, which of these two is the better everyday watch? Let's talk space watch. But before I begin, I'd like to personally thank Max of Watches and Coffee over on Instagram for sending his personal Speedmaster my way. Thank you, Max, for lending this in for not only a review, but this comparison. You are the best, brother. Our Seiko 6139 Pogue measures 42 millimeters in diameter. It is 47 millimeters from lug end to lug end. It measures 13.5 millimeters thick and features 19 millimeter lug widths. Our Speedmaster, on the other hand, measures 42 millimeters in diameter at 48 millimeters from lug end to lug end. It's just a little bit thicker at 14 millimeters to the top of that Hesalite crystal and features 20 millimeter lug widths. Off the bat, these are two very similar watches in terms of scale and profile on the wrist. The only difference being that the Seiko is a little bit shorter and a little bit thinner. However, props to Omega for using a more common 20mm lug width scale, though back in the late 60s and early 70s, the 19mm lug width was also common, at least in Seiko's lineup. The first point of comparison I'd like to make is between the components used. The original Moonwatch came with Hesalite, as does the modern variant as seen here, and there's also a sapphire crystal alternative. The Seiko here came with Hardlex, Seiko's very own proprietary mineral glass. Now, Hesalite, such as that found on Omega Speedmaster, is the most shatter resistant, though is inversely prone to scratches, where our Hardlex is less likely to scratch and still maintains a high degree of shock resistance, a reason why it's still featured on many of their modern professional divers. Now, Sapphire, on the other hand, is the most scratch resistant, but is the most likely to shatter with high impact. Omega has both ends of the spectrum covered, while Seiko sits neatly in the middle. Now, most consumers would lean towards the sapphire crystal option, scratch resistance being highly favored within the watch community. I myself personally lean towards acrylic options such as the Hesalite found here and Hardlex for daily use. I prefer the low reflectiveness of Hardlex as it makes legibility much easier, with Hesalite being the clear winner of the two in regards to legibility. Now, many brands work around Sapphire's reflective nature by adding several coats of anti-reflective layering to their watches on either the top, underside, or both sides of the crystal. Now, this luxury, as you'd imagine, raises the cost of production and is one of the factors in why the modern sapphire models of the Omega Speedmaster cost more than the Hesalite version we have here. Personally, I'm a huge fan of the implementation of Hesalite here. It was a purpose-driven design choice, and for many modern consumers, the right choice if you're interested in getting a watch that's accurate to the original Moonwatch. Though I personally love the look and feel of Hardlex crystal, it doesn't polish out like Hesalite, and should it chip or scratch, I would have to find a replacement. Both of these watches are made of stainless steel with matching stainless steel bracelets, a case with a crown that's either shrouded or covered, and a tacky scale atop the bezel. However, that is where all their similarities end, because beneath these two cases lie two very distinct, very different movements. Seiko's Caliber 6139 movement features a day-date complication over at the 3 o'clock, a continuous 30-minute timer, that is to say, it will continue recording past the 30-minute mark, and an additional 60-minute elapsed timer controlled at the crown's 0 or at rest position. It has a minute, hour, and central chrono hand. The Omega Speedmaster's manually wound Caliber 1861 features a 30-minute, 12-hour, and 60-second sub-register. Now, neither of these watches provide hacking, nor do they provide power like the other. The 6139 gets its power from an oscillating weight found on its automatic movement and can't draw power manually, while the Speedmaster can only be hand wound to maintain its power reserve. It's also important to note that the Speedy features an anti-magnetic shroud underneath the stainless steel caseback, and that this feature is only found on the Hesalite version of this watch. So if you work in an area with high magnetism or need gear with anti-magnetic properties, bear this in mind. These two movements couldn't be any more different. However, on a day-to-day basis, I found the 6139 to be the more practical offering. Once the watch is wound, all it requires from you is that you wear it. It provides both the day and date, which is highly favorable if you require that complication, and the 30-minute chronograph intervals when used in tandem with the internal ring allow you to record up to 24 hours if necessary. All you have to do is line this hand up with that hidden hour hand, and you can graph how many hours have elapsed instead of 60 minutes. Though many find the routine of manually winding their watch charming, it is far less practical than wearing a watch that winds itself. Also, the lack of a seconds hand on the 6139 means that we never need bother trying to align our minute hand with both the accurate time and that of our seconds hand, which doesn't feature hacking here. Now, personally, I've worn this watch and have largely ignored the seconds hand register of this chronograph, making it, practically speaking, a bicompax. Lastly, I want to discuss accessibility. The thing that divides these two space watches most is their price. The Omega Speedmaster's predecessor and original moon watch, the 105.012, regularly sells for $10K or more, depending on the condition and overall sales package. Does it have the bracelet, the box, all of that stuff? Now, these modern copies go for $5 to $6K at your local boutique. Now, that's depending on whether you get the sapphire crystal sandwich or the Hesalite version we have in today. Now, of course, you can go gray market and find them for around $3,000 to $4,000. On the other hand, the 6139 chronograph from Seiko can only be acquired used, but the prices are as varied as Omega's limited edition ranges of Speedmaster. From my personal experience, I can tell you that I commonly see these sell from anywhere between $300 to $500, again, depending on condition and overall package. Now, I purchased this particular model for right around $300. Servicing was about $350. I know, right? And the replacement Hardlex crystal I sourced, as well as the aftermarket bracelet, puts the total cost of this watch up to $750. Now, if money were no object, which of these two do I find to be the better everyday watch? I find the 6139 a much more practical movement with a case and aesthetic great for everyday use. And although I do prefer the fit and feel of the Omega Speedmaster Professional on the wrist, I have to hand it to the 6139. This is a watch made long after the original Speedmaster and was designed with the average consumer in mind, hence the day-date complication at the 3 o'clock and the colorful display of its dial options. The honey yellow wasn't the only one. There is a silver dial and a blue dial, as well as the original speed timer dial. These were designed to be practical. If you have the money, you will not be upset with the Omega Speedmaster. But if you're itching to scratch that space watch bug and money is relevant, I highly recommend you still go with the Seiko 6139 Pogue. Of course, you can argue that the bracelet of the Omega is better and the tactility of its pushers more pleasing, the overall layout of the dial better in design, a watch that's better executed, but nothing comes close to the value that you receive when you buy a vintage 6139. Those are just my thoughts though, and I am an avid Seiko collector, so there may be a little bias there, but how about you? Which of these two watches do you feel is the better space watch? Make your case in the comment section down below and we can continue the conversation there. Now, if you found this video enlightening or in the least entertaining, feel free to hit that like button. It looks a whole heck of a lot like this. If you have friends, forums, or groups that were interested in the debate as to which space watch is the best space watch, well, feel free to share this video with them so they can get another consumer's opinion as well as state their own in the comment section down below. Also, if you're new to the channel, well, welcome. I do videos like this 2 or more times a week, so if watch content is your thing, feel free to slam that subscribe button, and while you're down there, you can hit the little bell icon just next to that to be notified as to when my videos air. Again, my name is Patrick Marlette, and thank you for the time.